I'm going to do a little presentation, and then we are going to get working. So, no stress. I'm not trying to stress you out or anything like that, but I am going to have something for you to do. Understand the next couple days, this is what the schedule is going to be. You should know, we talked about it in our advisory classes and stuff yesterday. Tonight is back to school night. It's all virtual. So your parents can have chances to go check in with you guys or with your teachers, kind of see what they're doing, what my class is doing. I have a little video up on there. And then Wednesday, tomorrow is a holiday, but it's also an asynchronous day. So we will just work on what we're doing today, and you will have an asynchronous check-in. Thursday will also be that same type of thing where it'll be like an asynchronous day. You won't necessarily be here in class. And then there's conferences that night, and there's conferences Friday morning. So if your parents are concerned with your grades, they can definitely schedule a meeting with your teachers, either from last quarter or from this quarter, and we can sit down and chat with them. There's a little chunks, like 15 minutes at a time, that they can schedule for. Excuse me. And then there will be no classes at all on Friday. The way that I run my asynchronous stuff, like I told you before, usually we'll meet on Wednesdays because I'll have kind of open the office hours, but we're not doing it this Wednesday because they want it to be asynchronous. So what will happen is at the beginning of the day, I'll have a Google form posted to our classroom, and it'll basically ask you your name, the class that you're in, and then it'll say, hey, give me an update on what your project looks like so far, and then you can work on that project. Give me an update, and that'll be your attendance for the day. But still make sure you check in tomorrow on that Google form. I'll send another one out on Thursday, making you check on that one on Thursday, so I can get you your attendance for the day. Okay, it's super important that you still do that because we want to make sure that you guys are all checking in. Okay, for this project that we are going to start today, let me present my screen. Beep, 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 beep. All right. Project is the Show Me What You Got project. Okay. This is a formative project, a formative assessment project. And basically, this is you to your opportunity to show off. Okay. Required materials that we will need. You will need a cat. Oh, well, did you have a cat? I'm awesome. I'm kidding. Sorry. I saw you with the cat and it ADD'd me. You will need a piece of paper. It can be a blank white piece of paper. It can be a lined piece of paper. I'm not going to hold you to any crazy standards. Something you feel comfortable drawing with, preferably a pencil. If you feel super confident with a pen and you feel you're not going to make any mistakes, you can draw with a pen. But I would obviously recommend you draw with a pencil. And you're going to need an object. Okay, so let me show you kind of how this thing is going to go. Can I push this button? I cannot. Okay, the essential question that we have. Can I do a line drawing of a shoe to the best of my abilities? Okay, that's going to be the essential question of our project. The reason I choose a shoe is there's usually some details in the shoe that are kind of fun to mess with, but also almost everybody has shoes. Okay, I usually do this in class, and what happens is I go, everybody take off a shoe. And everybody takes off a shoe like, oh my gosh, it stinks. Ooh, nasty. But what ends up happening is someone takes off a shoe, puts it in the middle of the table, and then the table draws the shoe. Well, you're all at home, so hopefully if you don't have a shoe to draw, someone in your family does, someone in your house does, we can still get this project going, okay? It's really important. It's not a picture of a shoe on your phone. It is an actual shoe that you can wear and put on your foot, okay? So that's the essential question. Can you do a line drawing of a shoe? I'm not going to show you how to draw a shoe. I'm not going to impart my wisdom of drawing onto you quite yet. I want you to be able to show me what you can do, okay? Now, understand something. I'm going to be very, very, very clear. You are not going to be graded on the outcome of the shoe in terms of the ability at which you draw it with. Sorry, 1 second. You will not be graded on the ability at which you draw it. You'll be graded on the fact that you drew an entire shoe and then you turned that shoe in. Okay, so that's what you'll be graded on. Some requirements. it's going to be a line drawing. Okay, so I don't want any value. Now, some of you say, what's value? Value is transitions between light and dark or shadows. Okay, so if you look at something in your room that has light casting on it, there's going to be a darker piece to it and there's going to be a lighter piece to it. That is the value. If you have a poster on the wall, you're not going to draw the transitions of light to dark in the poster itself. You're just going to draw the rectangle of the poster and then the lines around whatever's on the poster itself. It's a line drawing, so you're only going to use lines. Okay, I don't want you drawing something and then blending it all in and then smudging it with your finger and then getting all crazy artistic with it. I want you to just draw with lines. Don't worry about value. Don't worry about cross hatching. If you're pretty advanced and you know what cross hatching is, don't worry about hatching and cross hatching or adding shadows or anything like that. Just draw the lines of everything that you are looking at on the shoe in front of you. Okay. Please include details. What those details can be your shoelaces, if your shoe has shoelaces, lace holes where the laces go into, stitching. Say you don't have a shoe that you're going to draw. You're going to draw a boot instead, but there's stitching all along the boot. Make sure you show the lines of those stitching, little dashed lines, okay? Any texture you may have. If you're drawing a pair of Vans and they have texture on the side of it, try to draw that texture with lines, not with shadows or anything like that, okay? And for those of you that don't know what textures are, textures basically surfaces that you can feel or you can see transitions in. So most of you, if I say pine cone, you can visualize what the texture is in the outside of a pine cone, what it feels like, okay, what it may look like. I can tell you concrete, and you have a visual representation or a feeling of what concrete feels like. If I say glass, you know what glass feels like. You know what glass feels way wet than way different than concrete. If I say wet glass, you know what that feels like as opposed to dry glass. So that's the textures that we're talking about. So if you see textures in your shoe, make sure you show some of those textures. Okay, what your steps are going to be. Very, very simple. Step one, find a flat surface, a table, a desk, your kitchen table, the floor if you want to, but find something that's going to be flat that your paper can be laying on. If you're laying on the floor and you have carpet, I recommend putting a book or something hard underneath your paper. I used to draw like that as a kid, and I put my paper down on carpet, and the first time your pencil pushes down your paper, you put a hole through your paper. So make sure you have something hard underneath it. I'd recommend you not kind of holding something free in your hand like that. I'd like a harder surface you can set it on, okay? With your pen or pencils, which you're going to use, and you're going to find the shoe that you would like to use, and you're going to set it down in front of you, okay? It should look something just like this. You don't have to use Sharpie. Again, you can use a pen if you would like, but if you use a pen, you got to make sure that you're going to be very limited on your mistakes, because I don't want to have a bunch of scribble marks all over the place because you messed something up, okay? So I recommend using pencil. If you use a pencil, you can erase it. If you make a mistake, go back and fix it. But if we're looking at this right here, looking at our shapes, we have shapes around like the heel of the shoe. We have the bottom of the shoe. There's like a big chunk of wood that goes all the way around that way. I have the edges of the shoe right here, along with the stitching on the inside of the shoe. I have the shoelace, I have the lace holes, I have the tongue of the shoe, I have the opening of the shoe, I have the back, I have little numbers inside here, I have the toe, and I have the creases. So I'm looking at all these different things. That's all stuff that you're going to be adding you're going to be showing with your project. Olivia, no, not color, just with a pencil or just with a pen. I guess if you want to, you can use a color pen, like a red pen, but just one color the entire time just to show the line itself. We're not going to be all like detailed and coloring and stuff like that so far. That's a great question. Thank you. So I want to transfer all of that onto this paper to the best of my ability. Okay. And what the product should be, this is a very, very good product. So understand that this is like a Converse shoe. Step two, when you're finished, you will get something that kind of looks like this. Okay. Now again, look at, there's no shadows anywhere. There's no value anywhere. There's no shading, none of that stuff. It's all just lines. We have lines and little creases on the back side of the shoe. We have the sole of the shoe. We have this little shoelace that wraps around. the shoe itself. We have the lace eye holes, the eyelets. We have the toe, and then all these little dashes are the stitching lines, which are also very important to add. Look at how there's some depth right here. We can see both sides of the top of the shoe, and they're really intentional with how they showed all the information, all the details on the shoe itself. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. I want you to try to take up the majority of your paper, so draw it pretty big. That'll help you add all of the details and stuff like that. So that's going to be the first part of this project, okay? The first one will be a line drawing, and these are going to be due. I'll have them officially due on Thursday, which is our last day that we're supposed to be in class asynchronously. So we'll be due at the end of the day on Thursday, and then I will evaluate them over the weekend. Okay, so this is the first one. Any other questions you have on doing the line drawing of a shoe? And you can unmute and talk, or you can type. Anyone's fine. Give a little bit of delay time.
Can we turn in earlier?
Yes, almost definitely. So what will happen is today, I will post everything I have here. I'll post it in an actual assignment because you're not going to finish it like in the next hour. So I'll post the assignments, and then you can turn it in whenever you finish it. Yep, most definitely. And that's a great question. It's usually how my classes will go. Like, hey, guys, we're going to have like 3 days to work on this project. And you're like, well, I can get that done really fast. So you kick it out really fast, and then you're done. But there are other kids in the class where it's going to take like every minute of those 3 days to get it done. So that's kind of how we'll flow with it going forward. Thank you. Good question. Okay, now the second part of the project is our second project and essential question. Can I do a detailed drawing of a shoe to the best of my ability? So it's not a line drawing anymore. Now this is going to be a detailed drawing of it. Sorry, 1 second. So it's going to be a detailed drawing now, and this house is going to be a little bit different. Now you're going to add as much value as you can. Okay, some of you feel really confident in this. Some of you don't feel confident at all. But you're going to put as much value as you can. So now we are looking at shadows and blending and all those different things. That's what I want to see what your style is, how you attack it. Okay, you're trying to show the transitions between the light and the dark, the shadows. Now instead of not having them, you're going to add those in there. Please start with lines to add value from there, but it has to be a different drawing. Okay, you're not just going to take the same drawing and then add detail to it and call it good. And I'm going to add one little tip in there that's going to make you frustrated, but it'll help out a lot in terms of grading and getting it all checked out. Make sure you include the details, the shoelaces, lace holes, stitching, texture like we did before. But you're also going to make sure that those textures now we can see how they look and feel. Okay, so step one, again, same thing, lay out a shoe, but now the extra detail that you need to add on this, and this is what you can write down in your notes if you would like to, and I'll have it in the assignment. For the detailed drawing, you are going to draw the shoe the other direction. Okay? You're going to show it the other direction, so I know that it's another drawing. It's a second drawing, and I know that it's you actually putting this effort forth and doing that. Okay? Now, again, this is a super detailed, very high-end drawing, and I am assuming that most of you are not going to draw anything that looks like this, okay? That's not the point. The point is that as we go through this class and as we finish up Art 1 this quarter, by the end of it, the final drawing, the final projects we do will look kind of like this or more like this than it does the stuff that you're going to do today. Unless, again, you are pretty talented and you've been doing a lot of classes before and you feel pretty confident with your abilities, okay? So, but you can definitely see now the difference between the detailed drawing and the line drawing. Now, this is essentially the same shoe, right? It's the same shoe. We see this little block up here in the front. We see the block up here in the front right there. We see a shoelace laying down on the flat surface. We see a shoelace laying down on the flat surface. But this one, where the shoelace falls across the shoe, we can see that there's shadows. They added the shadows there. This one obviously has no shadows. There are creases here. We see the shadows in the creases. We see creases on this side. We don't see any shadows because we're not trying to add those. Obviously down here, we see the difference in shadow along this edge. We don't see the shadow down here. So again, line drawing and detail drawing. Now, some of you that are pretty talented and have some art skills, this is going to take you a long time. Make sure you give yourself time to get it done, and make sure you don't get caught up on something and then not turn it in. We're going back to day one yesterday when I said the zeros that I give because people don't turn stuff in. If you turn it in, you're going to get a grade for it, and the grade is always better than the zero. Okay. Also, for a situation where you turn in like half of a drawn shoe and you put in the comments, hey, Mr. Reynoso, I have half a shoe drawn. This is what I have so far. Can I finish it and turn it in later? And I'll say, yes, most definitely. Thanks for letting me know. I'll give you a 3 out of 5 or whatever. And then when you resubmit it and turn in the final one, I'll give you your 5 out of 5 and we'll be good to go. Okay. So again, we're drawing shoes. One of them is a line drawing. One of them is a detailed valued shadow drawing. They are flipped around. So if you draw one shoe one way, flip it for the other shoe. I don't care if you turn the shoe on its side or draw it from the top or whatever. Just make sure that it's 2 different angles of the shoe. And then both of those will be due on Thursday. So you will have today to start your drawing. You will have tomorrow during our asynchronous time to do your drawing. You will have Thursday during asynchronous time to do your drawing. And then it will be due by Thursday night, because that's kind of usually what I do, is do it at nighttime. Okay. The biggest struggle that you're going to have with this is having free time and saying, I can do it later. I'm just telling you that right now. I'm a procrastinator. That's how my brain is wired, and I need to make sure that I fight against that. So you're going to say, I can do it later, I can do it later, and then you're going to rush through it. I recommend that you use the rest of this half an hour that we have to start laying it out, and then make sure you go into your next or tomorrow during this class time, sit down for an hour and try to knock both of them out if you can. If you can't, then finish it up on Thursday morning in this hour that we have. But make sure you set those chunks aside, okay? 2 different projects. I will label them as 2 different projects. And then when it's time to turn them in, what's going to happen, and I can't necessarily show you this whole thing. Let me see if I can go to my classroom. I can't show you how to do this because I am a teacher and I'm not a student. But let me jump onto a past class. So when you go to your assignment, you're going to go to your assignment. See, I can't do it here. You'll have a little plus sign that'll say add. And what you'll do is you'll add your project to that so I can evaluate it and turn it in, okay? The thing that I have had my students do that have worked out pretty well, some of my students have taken their assignment and they've held it up to their webcam and they've taken a picture of their screen like that. Most of my students, what they do is they use a phone. If you have a smartphone, they use a phone. They'll take a picture on their phone, and then they'll load it to their Google Drive or Google Classroom and edit that way. If you save it to your phone and access Google Classroom on your phone, you can go to the assignment, you can press add, and then you can add a picture that way. I will try to see if I can put up a tutorial also on how to do that, just to kind of help some of you who might have issues getting that loaded, okay? But I believe you've been doing it already for the past quarter, so we should be fine in that regard, okay? Any questions you guys have on what I'm asking of you over the next 3 days? I'd be okay with you doing 2 different shoes. Yeah, that's fine. Or keeping it to the shoes, though.
Does it have to be a shoe, or can it be something like a different object?
No, we're gonna keep it with shoes. Keep it with shoes. It can be different types of shoes. It can be like a high heel or a boot or a tennis shoe or something like that. But definitely we'll stay with the shoes concept. All right. So if that's all you guys, if that's all we have, and you guys are good with that, you can go ahead and jump off for today. Make sure you have your favorite ice cream listed over in the chat for your attendance for today. And I will see you all synchronously on next Monday. Have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you then.